All right, welcome back to another lesson for Math 7. Today is a biggie. It's a big lesson. However, because I am not there in class, I would have to teach you more like your book says it. But again, I'm going to bring my formula and try to explain to you how this is. But today we're going to talk about slope. And slope is really important because slope is the key to understanding how to graph lines later on when you're in 8th and, more importantly, 9th grade. And so you have to know this lesson 107 so that when we get to 116, you're going to understand something called slope-intercept form. And it's not like I looked it up. It's because it's one of those lessons that are hard. I know they're hard. It's like nothing that you've done before. And that's one of the reasons that math starts to seem hard at first. But the more you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, I think I start to get it. And it's not that hard. By the time that you're in 9th grade, you're like, I don't know what I was talking about with slope, because slope-intercept is not that hard compared to other things. And the reason is because it might look, and it might seem a little bit hard right now because you haven't seen anything like that before. But as you start working with it, it becomes more familiar, and so it becomes easier. And that is the truth about most of the math. The reason that it seems so hard at first is because it's the first few times that you see it, but as you start working with it over and over and over and over again, it becomes a lot easier, and then you become a lot better at math. And that's the truth about math. You have to repeat your skills. And so let's get into this lesson 107, which is slope. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the word slope itself. Okay, the word slope, sometimes you guys don't get it. So we are going to use slant or elevation, or it's something that you see in mountains, obviously. And if you go skiing, there's a good, I don't know if you've ever been skiing. I've never been. Or snowboarding, because I don't know if you guys even think that skiing is cool or not. But if you've ever been skiing or snowboarding, you should have at least heard the word slope. Slope means how steep, okay, that's another word for it, steep, the mountain is. And so it means the side of the mountain. Sometimes the mountains are like this, like a little bit slanted like this, so that you can go down, and then you'll go down at a good pace. And sometimes they're a little bit less slanted, so you'll go down a little bit less fast. And so the more slanted it is, and the closer to the vertical, and by the way, you need to know these words, please. I mean, the vertical is the y-axis, okay? I've talked about it. Horizontal is the x, and vertical is the y. The y-axis goes up and down. And so the closer it is to a vertical, the more dangerous it is. It becomes more like a cliff. And nobody wants to be snowboarding or skiing off a cliff. That is not what you want. You want a nice slope that it's like this, or maybe like this if you're starting. So it depends on, obviously, your skill at skiing. And so one of the things that we're talking about slope is that how inclined, how slanted, how steep is the line? Is it super steep, or is it not as steep? And so that's one of the things. The closest it gets to the horizontal, whoops, hopefully my marker still, it works. So the closest it is to the horizontal, the more steep it is, the more like a cliff it is, because this is literally a cliff. I mean, if you try to snowboard of this, you just fall down flat, well, boom, right? But you don't want to snowboard and something like this either, which is the horizontal. It's not steep at all. It's just horizontal. It's like a bed. It's not like you want to. It's not like you want to ski on this. It doesn't make sense. It's like skiing on a lawn or something like that. It doesn't make sense. So you have to understand what that means. And so having said that, we're going to talk about the different types of slopes that lines have Because yes, there's one for this and there's one for that. And so I'm going to make a couple of drawings and then start going. This is one of the lessons that I might go a little bit off the book, but I'm going to try to stick to the book as much as possible so that you guys don't get super confused. But at least I hope that you understand the word that we're looking for, slope, how slanted, how steep, how elevated the line is, okay? So let's get into it. All right, so we have to know that this is 4 lines that we're going to draw in a coordinate plane. So we need an x-axis and we need a y-axis, right? So this is just a graph like a coordinate plane that you've used before. You started using them in 6th grade. Now you've obviously been using them in 7th grade for a while, so you know how to use it. It's not hard. Now what we are going to try to tell you is that there's 4 ways in which a slope can present itself, all right? So the first thing that you have to do is that you have to learn how to read one of these graphs. And you have to learn how to do them because that's one of the ways that we're going to know how the slope looks and what it would kind of be like, okay? So remember, just like in English, just like you read in English and just like you read your Bible, hopefully you're doing both, keeping up with English and reading your Bible during this time. You also read math from left to right, meaning you start from the left and you go to the right. We are not Jewish because the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, they read their Hebrew from right to left. And so actually they are encouraged to learn how to write with their left so that they don't smudge. Okay, that's actually a problem that a lot of lefties have with the language. When they start writing and they go back, they smudge over what they wrote because of their hand position. But us righties, when we start writing, it's hard for us to smudge because we already went over it. So we didn't go over it, but that's just a fun trivia thing. So we have to learn how to read them from left to right. We are not Jewish, as I said, and we're not Japanese or Chinese or Korean. They actually also read from right to left. Okay, but those are different cultures than ours. We read left to right. Okay, the Western civilization, for the most part, they read left to right, and so you have to understand that we are always going to look at a graph from left to right. So if a line is going this way, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I don't know what side it's going because I think it's going down. No, you have to read it from left to right. From left to right, it's going up. From left to right is going up. Okay, so you have to understand, oh, okay, this line is going up. So because it's going up, it's going to be positive. The slope is going to be positive. It makes sense. If the slope is going up, it's going to be positive. Okay, so that's the first thing that you have to know. A line that goes up means that it has a positive slope. So when will I say that a line is negative? Well, when I erase this, I'll show you. Yeah, perfect. So then we're going to erase. We're going to draw from left to right. No, that line is going up. No, that line is not going up. Because if we read from left to right, it starts up and it goes down. The slope is negative because if we read the slope from left to right, it is going down. And always the slope is red from left to right. And so if it's going from here to here, it's going to be up, is going to be positive. If it's going from here to here, it's going to be down. It's going to be negative, all right? So we explained two. We explained the positive. I'm actually going to put it up here as well. Up, positive, down, negative, okay? So those are two types of slope. Now you know how to identify a positive slope of going up and a negative slope of going down, okay? Please don't forget left to right, please. Okay. Now there's two more, okay? The one that I told you that was vertical, like the y-axis. Yes, this one right here. This is a vertical line, right? So it is a steep very steep. It's a cliff, right? So what we say when it's a vertical line, we say that it's undefined. Yeah, cannot be determined, okay? So your book says cannot be determined. Other book says undefined. So I'm just going to call it cannot be determined, like your book. Cannot be determined. The reason is because in math, we'll see later on that can you divide by 0? No, you can't. And if you don't believe me, do it in a calculator. Try to divide by 0. It's going to say divide by 0 error. So you can never divide by 0, so it can never be determined. So in here, a vertical line means that it cannot be determined. All right, so we discussed 3 cases so far. Going up, positive. Going down, negative. Going up and down like this vertically is going to be cannot be determined. And so there's one more, the one that will be parallel to the x-axis, which is horizontally. If it's horizontal, then we're going to say that the slope is 0. Because it has no slope. It doesn't go up at all. All right? It just keeps going from side to side. It's just not going up. And so that's 0 slope. It has 0 slope because it doesn't go up. It just keeps going the same side to side. So slope has to do with altitude, meaning with going up and down, but not completely up and down, because then we'll say, well, we cannot determine that. It's not possible because we cannot divide by 0. And so these are the things that you have to know about the types of slope. So hopefully by now you can actually look at a line and determine whether it's positive or negative, or it's 0, or it cannot be determined. And those are the 4 types of slope types that we're going to be talking about. Okay, so let's move on. All right, now we're actually going to determine the number value. Yes, slope is a number, all right? You have to learn the number. There's going to be number values to slope. And so one of the things that happens is that every time for now, we're going to just show you a graph and we're going to tell you, okay, tell us the slope. So obviously, if it's going up, it's going to be a positive number. But if it's going down, it's going to be a negative number. If it's going just sideways, horizontally, it's going to be 0. And if it's going up and down, it's going to be cannot be determined. So that's pretty easy. That's one of the reasons we talked about it before. But now we actually need numbers. And I'm going to use my own numbers just because I don't have a grid paper like in your book. So I'm just going to make very simple graph from 0, negative 2, 2, 2, 0. Yay! Pocket ruler to the rescue. I don't know if I made that joke here, but this is my pocket ruler. So we have a line right here, okay? Now we know that if we read it from left to right, it's going up. That's good. It's going up. That makes sense. But now we have to understand something. And so in your book, they use this thing that I don't like, and you can ask anybody in 12th grade on down. Because funnily enough, I've taught every single 7th grade class from 12th grade on. Like the 12th graders, I taught them 7th grade math. The 11th graders, I taught them 7th grade math. The 10th graders, I taught them 7th grade math. The 9th graders, I taught them 7th grade math. And obviously the 8th graders, I taught them 7th grade math. And they will all tell you that I I just don't. I can't stress it enough. I can't express it enough. I don't like this. I don't. Rise over run. And I'm going to explain to you why I don't like it. Because to me, it makes no sense that the rise would go down. Rising up, right? You rise up. You don't rise down. How do you rise down? Okay? In running. For the most part, normal people in sports, they run forward. Okay? They run forward. I've never seen a race which runs backwards. And this is why I don't like it. Because in the rise over run, they kind of don't assume that you guys are going to have problems saying, why is the slope rising down? why is it running backwards? Okay, so that's why I don't like it, because I don't think these words actually are meant to convey or to show how a line could move, because a line could move up or down. And so it could rise down, or it could run backwards. And this just doesn't make sense to me. Personally speaking, I just don't like it because I think it's not grammatically correct. It doesn't really show you the versatility of a line. A line could actually rise or it could fall. And it could run forwards, or it could just backtrack. And so that's why I don't like it. Okay? But that's what your book says. Okay? Your book says it's rise over run. And so what they're trying to tell you, and this is why I always tell people, don't think about rise over run, think about something else. And so in here, I start to introduce things that you will later use in math and in chemistry and in physics, okay? And it's this little thing here. This is not a triangle, by the way. This is a Greek letter, all right? This is the lowercase Greek letter delta. You don't have to worry about what it is, really. You have to worry about what it means. That is where it comes in handy, I think. And so delta, what it really means, it means change in, all right? Change in. Change in y over change over x. That's what really slope is. Change in y over change of x, all right? And so change. What does change mean? I don't know what change means. Well, obviously, you do know what it means in English, but I'm talking about math here, okay? I'm not your English teacher, I'm your math teacher. So what does change mean in math? Well, change means difference. Hopefully, everybody by now knows what difference means in math. Difference means subtraction. So what we're saying here is that you have to subtract the y's and you have to subtract the x's, and then you'll find your slope. In fact, there's this formula that is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I know for some of you it might look super complicated, but I will show you that I don't think it is. And I will show you that if you know this, I'm going to guarantee you that when you get to ninth grade, you will know it. Okay? But I'll show you both ways. Okay? With this line, and then I'm going to make more lines, and then I'll show you again. So, rise over run. What they're trying to tell you is how much did it go up or down over how much it went right or left. Okay? So, the rise. In here, from -2, it just went in the y. How much did it move by? Okay, so they changed the difference. It is different because from here, it went to here, okay? But in y terms, it went up 2, right? +2, +2. And then it moved to the right 2, right? So the rise over run, it's supposed to be 2 over 2. But then again, I don't get it how you're supposed to know it from this. Maybe from this it makes more difference. It makes more of a sense, because what is the difference from y? Well, it went from -2 to 0, right? In y, because this point right here is 2, 0, and this point right here is 0, -2. So in y, it went from -2 to 0. So it changed. Positively, it moved up 2. It moved up 2. And sideways, it went to the right 2. Because to the right is positive. This is the positive. It's going to also be +2. Well, +2 over +2 is 1. The slope of this line is 1. Okay? That's exactly what you need to know. The slope in here is 1. And that's how you do it. So that is literally what I'm trying to teach you. This, I'm not going to worry about. This is what's going to look like later. Maybe if I was in person, I would actually push this more, but I'm going to push this one more. The difference of y over the difference of x, meaning the change in, or subtract. How did I subtract this? Well, what is 0 minus negative 2? Okay. 0 minus negative 2. Negative and negative is positive, is going to be positive 2. Okay. And what is 2 minus 0? 2 minus 0 is going to be plus 2. Now understand what I did. I grabbed this second point and I put it first. And I grabbed this second point and I put it second. Where I put the y's first and then the x's. This is where people need to keep track of their numbers. For slope, you always have to put y on top and then the x in the bottom. Up and down, top, left and right to the bottom. And that's how you do that one. Okay, so let's actually look at example. Well, I did example 2 with different numbers, but it's still the slope of 1. Oh no, that one is 2/3 actually. So let me actually give you another example, okay? I'll be right back. All right, so in here we're going to do slope, right? We're going to have the slope. And so your book says, rise over run. I say change in y over change in x. Now this should also be easier because we have the y labeled and the x labeled. All right, so all I want you to understand is the change. How does it change from one point to another? So we have 2 points. We have 0, 2, and 1, 0, right? So you have to find the points. Now, there's something that happens that I have to address right now in the graphs in your books. A lot of you have a lot of problems finding the points in your book. And let's say this is a grid, right? This is a grid. Let me try to line it up with the graph I already made so that it makes more sense. Okay, let me just do that. Something like this. Okay, so this is not, these are not lines. This is the grid paper it's on, right? And so this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. All right, and so something that happens in your book is that sometimes they will have a line that goes, and it crosses this little part right here, something like that. And I see a lot of students having problems looking at the points because they don't label the points like I did on the board. They actually just put the points in the little grid. And so some here are like, okay, this is 2, this is negative 2, this is for y, and this is a negative 2 for x. So in negative 2, it's going to be like a negative 2.5. No, that's not what they're trying to tell you. What they're trying to tell you is that don't look at all this, or don't look at this part of the line, don't look at this part, 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 look at this part, don't look at here, don't look here, don't look here, don't look here. Look where it crosses the corner, the perfect corner of the little square. That's where the point is. The point is not here or here or here or here or here. It's there, not here, not here, not here, and here. So I have to emphasize this because a lot of you have so much trouble looking at the points because they don't show it to you. If you don't believe me, go to the practice set. They won't tell you the numbers. They just give you a line through little grids like that. And some of you are trying to guess all of these ones, but don't see that the point is right there in the intersection, of the y and the x. This point right here would be negative 1, negative 1. Negative 1 for y, negative 1 for, negative 1 for x, negative 1 for y. That's what it would be. So please make sure that you know that it has to be in the intersection of the little grids. It cannot be in between. I do not care for dead space here or dead space here, dead space here. I care for this points here. The intersections of the little cubes, of the little squares. Not cubes. Those are the points that matter. The intersections. If it's not in the intersection, that's not a point. You're making it up, okay? So please don't do that in your homework and in your tests. All right, now that that's been said, let's find, and I had to address that because So many classes have problems with that. It's not just you, it's every single class that I've had. They just have problems with that part. Okay. All right. So, we have this line, right? And the points are 0, 2, and 1, 0. So, your book says rise over run. I say difference in y over difference in x. And I'm going to do it with difference in. The difference from y, okay? So y is the second part of the point, the second number in the point. The second number in the point, it went from 2 to 0. Okay, from 2 to 0, do you add or you subtract? Well, from 2 to 0, you subtract. You're going down 2, right? That's why I don't like the rise. You don't rise down, you rise up. But I don't get it, okay? So that's what I'm saying. So it goes from 2 to 0, negative 2, and then x, it went from 0 to 1. 0 to 1. Oh, okay. So my slope is going to be negative 2 over 1. Negative 2 over 1 is going to be just negative 2. My slope is negative 2. So just understand that, okay? Understand that. That, and here, it's just going to be negative 2. And that's it. They only have 2 examples for this lesson. Hopefully you guys get it. If you don't, try to do the practice set. You will have the answers for that. And it's one of those things that at first it might look confusing, but I promise you, as you practice and practice and practice and see it more often and see it more often, you will get it better. Okay? But yeah, that's it for today. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.